Photoshop CS6 has made radical improvements to iris blur and tilt shift blur and field blur. These three blur tools can now be applied directly on canvas. So I'm going to choose filter, blur, and iris blur. And an iris blur will do a radial blur around any point that you choose in an image. In this shot, I want to move this so the bride and groom are the focal point and the rest of the background gets blurred out. If I want the target to be more on them, I could click and drag closer to the couple with these white circles. And I could move this a little further. Now I love the detail in the bridal bouquet that she's holding. So I hold down Option or Alt, and I can pull this down to gain more detail here. Well, whether that's a pocket scarf or a flower, I'll have to zoom in to see. But in this area, I can hold down Option or Alt and individually control how far out these 2 points are blurring. Over on the right, I can increase or decrease my blur. And I could apply field blur or tilt shift directly from here. If you move to the edge, I can actually pull the radius in on this circle. And you'll notice that I have stretch arrows when I get on the edge. If I'd like to rotate, I move over one of the points and click and drag to rotate. Now, there's a lighting effect called bokeh, and that's actually how it's pronounced. And if you'll notice, as I dial this up, watch the highlights in the image. You'll see it starts to give a posterized effect, which you may be looking for as a special effect, again to call the eye to the couple in the shot. But I'll dial that down and just allow a little bit of it. Now here is something that is photographically impossible to pull off. I love these shoes. So I'm going to click once to add another pin light or point here around the shoes. And on this circle, I could actually drag up in the white to adjust the blur. You'll see it's adjusting my dial over here. Or drag down to blur more. I can pull these points in to really focus in on those shoes. And then control how big the circle is by going towards the edge and pulling that in as well. And I'm happy with this. If I click OK, I can hit Control-Z or Command-Z to see a before and after. Here we are. Command-Z or Control-Z, before. Command-Z or Control-Z again, after. Now in this next image, I'm going to apply a tilt-shift effect. Tilt-shift lenses are very expensive. My goal with applying this effect is to make these people on the stairs look miniature. So if I go to Filter, Blur, Tilt Shift, in the Tilt Shift dialog, I can pull the blur point up to the 3rd level of stairs in this shot. I can move to the white line and pull in to control the point so it really starts just at the top of the stairs. Move to the other line, pull in, and now it's very focused. If you move over the circle, you can adjust the blur up or down, but if you're in the black or dark gray part of the circle, you're actually rotating. So I'm going to hit Command-Z or Control-Z to undo. And as I pull these dotted lines in, I'm controlling how close to the white line below it starts to graduate the tilt-shift blur effect. In fact, this was 8 to 10 steps to accomplish before we had the option to tilt-shift blur. I'm pulling these both a little closer. There we go. And now you have the option for distortion. Watch the trees as I dial the blur up or down. So blur down. This tree is nice and sharp. Blur up. You can really see it almost gets a miniature type look. And really, the people on the stairs just look super tiny now. And you could control distortion. Watch the wheels on the car and again this tree. As I drag distortion up, this looks more scrunched. As I drag it down, the tree starts to look a little bit taller. It often helps to drag this in extremes to see really what it's doing. And then, if I do distort this, watch the wheels again. If I check symmetric distortion, they don't radiate around as much, and actually the tree looked like it got more flat. I'll turn off symmetric distortion, and it looks like it's jumping a little bit outside. Turn it on again, and it takes a few seconds to kick in and out, so I check myself just by turning off and on. I'm happy with this result, so I will click OK. And here you have it. Command Z to see before, Command Z again to see after. It's really a distraction technique for your eye that makes the people look like they are miniature. A very cool special effect, and try it on a few shots where you have an object in focus, like a boat that's sitting on a shore. If you apply it to the landscape in the background, that boat will look super tiny because everything else will look big with the blur effect applied to it. So that was our tour of the new and improved iris blur and the tilt shift blur. There's also a field blur that you could experiment with, but give these a try on your own to either call attention in a shot to a particular subject or to create a special effect like the optical illusion of miniature with a tilt shift.